Hi guys, this is Joe here from Rufioh, bringing you my Thunder Dragon Deck profile from YCS London 2019. We went X3 drop in the end. We basically needed to get 2 wins, as you'll hear on my vlog if you go ahead and watch that, in the last 2 rounds to qualify for day 2. Unfortunately, we fell short. Essentially the final hurdles, so we dropped out at that stage. There was no point continuing when we knew we weren't going to make it, so we went ahead and tried to focus on doing the vlog and a bunch of other stuff and just experiencing YCS as a whole. It's always a good thing to do. So I wanted to bring you my profile because I think it's a little bit different than what other people are trying to do. I tried to take a slightly different approach. I'm sure there are other people doing this out there. Of course, it's not just me. But yeah, I kind of thought it might be nice to share with you guys. So, overall feedback was it was okay. It was a hell of a lot better than the builds I've been playing previously. I felt I played a lot better with it. Unfortunately, the Orcus matchup is just way too hard for this deck. Like, if your opponent is kind of unfortunate, or you see the right cards and you're in a good place, but like for the most part, they've got a really solid start. And even if you can interrupt them, you're normally just delaying it for like a turn or two, and it's not enough to get them killed. So maybe some more tweaks needed in future to address those issues in particular. But I kind of hope that the changes I'd made last minute would get us over the line so that we could win some of the Orcus matchups. So, apologies if there are any noises in the background. I'm recording this at home while everyone's in the house, so things get pretty noisy in here. So apologies again in advance if any of that. And we're also not recording in the normal space that we would, so apologies if any of this looks kind of weird. Hopefully the focus is okay on these, but I'll talk you through the cards as we go through. So, I won't mess around much more. We'll get stuck into the profile and we'll discuss what choices I made and why. So we start off with 3 Matrix. I think that this is pretty self-explanatory. It doesn't need, much touching on. It's a good normal summon. It's good to trigger your Titan. It's a really good way to get into Colossus if you've got no real other cards to work with. We've got triple of the original Thunder Dragon. Again, you can just loop this round like it's insane when you shuffle it back off Thunder Dragon Fusion and then do them all again and just pop loads of stuff with Titan. The amount of people that just don't know what to do once it starts going off and they've got no interrupts. It also forces them into positions they don't want to be in because they want to be able to stop you from popping things with Titan, so they have to respond, and these are responses that are not at the best or most ideal time, and as such, you put a lot of pressure on the board. Titan was insane the whole weekend, so absolutely recommend running it at 3. We've got triple Thunder Dragonhawk. Hawk was insane as well. I just wanted to see it all the time. It's really, really solid. It gets all your plays going. It's really cool. We got triple dark. I think that's pretty self-explanatory again, much like the others. It can set off Titan and that kind of thing. It's quick effect, so a lot of the time I would pitch this during my opponent's end phase. The only issue is for some reason I always seem to open multiples of this card and none of the others. It's always this one I'm multiples of, or I'll add one and then the next turn I'll draw one for turn. Fortunately, that didn't happen over the weekend, so it wasn't quite as bad. We've got triple Thunder Dragonroar, definitely one of your strongest options. Again, I think just 3 of each is really, really solid. And then we played just the 1 duo. So before this I was running Blackluster as well. I know some people have upped this to 2 and 3. I just never wanted to see it in my hand. I literally just wanted to search it exclusively. A lot of the time I found I was opening it and then I'd open like 2 lights or 2 darks and have no way to get the other into grave. And then it would just sit there and do nothing. So I want to be able to search it. And that's it. I don't want to see it any other time. That may go contrary to other people's experience, but for me, just the 1 is fine. So again, 3 of each and just the 1 duo worked perfectly for me. I didn't have too many issues with bricking, which is normally a thing for me. We did have 1 or 2 games, but it wasn't, as bad as normal. We then go into our non-Thunder Dragon stuff. So we are running triple Batteryman. I still think this is one of the strongest options, just for getting like a basic board going. I do think maybe I'd potentially change it to 2, although we'll go into some detail later as to why I'm running 3 of these. I'm running 2 Aloof. Again, it was whether I wanted to run 3 or not. I actually was about to put 3 in, and I picked something up before the event I decided to add in, which I'll get to in a moment. So I think that 3 and 2 here was absolutely fine. I never felt I had too many normal summons. I always felt okay with what I had. This is really good for when you brick, because it means you can still activate thunder effects. Whereas a lot of the time with this, if you've got a bricked hand, it doesn't actually improve your situation. That's the only downside with this one. So I guess potentially maybe go to 3 and 2 instead. But it's up to you on your kind of build. For me, this seemed okay for the most part. We then go on to Triple Dimension Shifter. This is a kind of what's the word I want to say? It sort of divides the community a little bit. Some people love it, some people hate it. Against my better understanding of the game, you know, it's a brick, right? But I never brick on it. It sounds so crazy. It should be a card that I should not want to have in my deck because it goes against all logic in the way this game is played. It's a dead card after turn 1, all of that kind of stuff. And yet, every time I've played without it, I've hated not having it in. So I just put 3 in. I went, you know what? Let's make Solar as live as possible. Let's mess with the Orcus players. Let's mess with the random rogue decks that rely on the graveyard. Let's mess with Salamangreat. Let's mess with Striker. Let's just get everything banished. And I swear to you, it must have been every single round, at least one of the games, I was opening this and I'd go standby phase, shifter, and they wouldn't know what to do. And they'd have to like pass turn or make a really suboptimal board. It was insane. Absolutely loved it, and I'm definitely not planning to cut it anytime soon. I upped it to Triple Fantastical. I was running 2 for like my locals and stuff like that for testing, purely because you do tend to face a few more rogue matchups. It was good. It wasn't anything insane. It didn't do as much as I'd hoped, but then I don't think I saw it an awful lot. So it's one of those things, like, when it came up it was okay, and when it didn't, it didn't really matter. We ran 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. I was very tempted to up this to 3, but again, one of the cards that I managed to get before the event took a place in the 3rd one. It was absolutely fine. It was always there when I needed it, and I never ended up bricking on multiples, so that's okay. We ran 2 copies of Luna the Dark Spirit. I wasn't intending to run this. However, one of my friends managed to get some of his booster packs for his entry and was kind enough to give me a playset. This was insane. So good. Like, every time it ever touched the field, it was really, really good. Just the fact that it's a free body and not normally enough to take you over the line where you're going to get Nibiru'd. But also the fact that, like one of the insane interactions I had was that I'd opened a shifter and like 2 allures and like a fairly dead hand otherwise. So I shifted my opponent. I used allure the next turn, drew into this and another shifter. So I banished, or something like that. It was like, or maybe I had one of these, sorry, and then I banished the shifter, used another shifter, and then I could like allure and go off from there, and it was just insane. The guy was essentially under shifter for like 4 turns. It was really, really cool. So really liked the card. It always worked really well. Gave me an extra body to get into stuff like Phoenix and that kind of thing. Really, really cool. And the final thing I added, which was something I wasn't planning to play before the event, but I just felt it was really like cool idea to try out, and it was Gizmek Orochi. Where to begin with this card? So this is like our replacement for Fairy Tale Snow. Of course, it's not as good. Yeah, all of that. This card, I think there was probably a good 4 or 5 games across the tournament where I should have lost, and this card gave me the win. Like, genuinely is that good. I think people sort of underestimate it because they go, oh, well, you know, you're banishing a bunch of important stuff on the top of your deck. That's not the point. The point is that this either puts you in a position where you can win, or it puts you in a position where you don't lose. And if you don't have this card, you're going to lose anyway, so you might as well banish those cards. It's like Pot of Desires. If you have such a dead hand that your opponent's just going to OTK you, you're just going to have to shotgun it. You know, and if you can hold it longer, that's fine. Worst case scenario, you can allure this off. But it was just insane. I've picked up another 2 copies now. I really want to try and fit the other 2 into the deck. It helps you go into your rank plays if you want to run that kind of engine in your extra deck. For me, I only have 1 target. But yeah, it was really, really good. At 1, it was fine. I saw it enough. But there was quite, you know, a few times where I was sort of like, I'd like to see Gizmek here. Because you can just summon it out on your opponent's end phase, and then during your turn, you just banish 3 of your choice that don't matter, and just pop a problematic card in the field. It's really, really good. It's a big body, like, 1 game. I think someone had stolen, like, my Colossus, and I managed to summon this back out, and it had 50 more than he could hit over with, and he was like, oh, well, I can't really do anything now, and it saved me for a couple of turns and managed to push me on to win the game. So really, really cool. Definitely recommend running this if you haven't thought about it already. I haven't seen a lot of people in Thunder Dragon builds running this. Definitely something you should try out. And that is it for the main deck monsters. We then go on to our spells. So I was running triple Thunder Dragon Fusion. I kind of always want to see it. If I end up in a grind game, it's usually this will win you those games. So I felt 3 was absolutely perfect. It is one of those cards that I tended to side 1 copy out a lot of the time if it wasn't necessary. Apologies about that dickhead barking, that's my dog for you. We ran triple copies of Instant Fusion. I took this out for some testing as well at some point. Really missed it. Not being able to go into Kaminari, not being able to go into 2000 Eyes Restrict kind of sucked. And yeah, we go from there. We had triple copies of Allure. It's a law. It says draw 2, banish 1, and then you just get to use the effects. That's insane. And then 1 copy of Gold Sark. I think it's kind of mandatory to have this in here. There were occasions where I sided it out where I didn't feel I kind of needed the extra juice to get through, and like maybe sided in something else that was kind of more critical to the game state. But overall, was pretty good when it came up. It didn't come up too often. I mean, it is at 1, so there is that reason. And that is it for the main deck. So, whilst we're on the topic of the main deck, I'll just discuss quickly with you what my thoughts and my plan was going into the day. So, I'd realised that, like, for the past 2-3 weeks, all I was able to really do was go into Colossus and pass a lot of the time, because you're kind of having to worry about Nibiru. And a lot of people are, of course, maining it and even siding it. So it's something that you have to consider. Now, I know that one of the things that people were talking about was using Appaloosa. In my experience, once they figure out that the reason you've got 4 shitty monsters on board is so that you can go into Appaloosa before they realise and it's too late, any half-decent player sees right through that. They see you get to 4 and they go, nah, you know what, fuck this. You can have a big-ass token. We're gonna get rid of this issue before it even becomes one. So it's a nice theory. It's good against the bad players, but against the good players, they see right through it. It really doesn't work. And for that, we need to figure out another way to proceed. So what I figured was, you know what, the hell with it. Let's just cut Appaloosa and let's take a different tactic. What I was finding was that with the way the format is shaped up, with Lunalight and Orcus and stuff being so prevalent, I needed more ways to interrupt my opponent. I need to be able to play Ashes. I need to be able to play more Phantazmays. I needed to be able to side in impermanences for that kind of matchup. And what was happening was they'd force me to go second, and then I'd go first. I'd end up with a handful of interrupts and no way to actually play any combos through and not see my way through the game. So what I figured was, let's try and change the deck so that it's go second. Like, Colossus Pass isn't enough. They just send it, they get rid of it. It's too easy at the moment. What you need to do is do a way to stop them playing. So like something like Shifter can end a turn. The next time you just try and OTK them, or you put so much pressure on board that they can't play through. And that's the kind of position you end up in. So I went for the go second, and I think it worked really well. And I honestly think that it's the way I'm going to continue to play the deck. I know that going first seems to be the logical way to play the deck, but you can't get through, you can't do the 5 summons, because you just get Nibiru, you lose everything, and then they just kill you the next turn. So I think that going second, playing it a bit more, conservatively, keeping pressure on the board, knowing when to just stick to like maybe 1 Colossus or whatever, if you're against the right opponent. The amount of times where I could combo off and I just didn't, and I won the game because I didn't commit all those resources to the board. You've got to be able to outgrind, and I think that going second just gives you that option to build a presence on the board, to stop yourself getting Nibiru'd, and just break through their board and go from there. So that was just how I played the deck. It worked really well. Again, a lot of the losses I got were just kind of the deck's consistency. I think I had my 2 losses were... I had 3 losses, that's a lie. I lost to Grenmarju, and I lost to 2 Orcus builds. So one was just like a kind of normal build with a small Cyber Dragon package, and the other one was an Orcus build with like Brilliant Fusion and stuff in. I played Lunar Orcus, and we drew that game. I feel I was kind of in a position to probably take it, but we did go into time really quick into the round, so who knows. So that was a draw, and then one of my other Orcus matchups I'm pretty sure was a win. So it's one of those where it's like, that's our hardest matchup, and that's how we have to try and play to, and I felt that this helped address that, and certainly I felt that my performances as a result were much so again, Orcus is the hardest matchup, and you have to accept that, this has its weaknesses against it. We'll go into the extra deck now as well. So we're running the pretty standard triple Colossus and triple Titan. I think that this is pretty much mandatory for most builds now, unless you're just running Thunder Dragons as a small engine, but I don't really see the benefit in that at the moment in any particular builds. Triple of each, really important. The amount of times you go through like 3 Colossus in like 1 turn's insane. I think that just 3 is important, and triple Titan helps you be able to shuffle back your Colossus and keep going. We got 1 Kaminari, attack of 1000 Eyes Restrict. Summon both on the day. Mostly this, of course. This is just, like, if you do end up going first, this is a good play to go into, of course, because it helps you build a small, compact board to try and help slow your opponent down. and Thousand Eyes Restrict, just an insane card. The amount of people that were playing Instant Fusion for this, not even in this particular type of deck, really, really good. I have one copy of Linkaribo, that's for linking this off. Of course, you can get rid of your Thunder Dragonmatrix. I played against one guy in a mirror match. This is the guy that hooked me up with the black dice. And he just kept normal summoning, and then he'd be like, Linkaribo, bring it back, Linkaribo. And it saved him for about 3 or 4 turns. Eventually, I ended up killing him, but it's a really, really good card for that kind of thing. We've got one IP Masquerena. This card. I only really felt one time that I needed to summon it. The rest of the time, it felt like I was in a position where I'd have to give up one of my fusions and lose board pressure for the sake of being able to, like, unicorn my opponent or something. I just don't think it works very well in this deck. It's a really, really good card, and I can see, like, how it can be insane. But I don't really feel in this deck that it has its place. I may continue to test it. It may have just been a bad weekend for the card, but we'll see going forward. One copy of some Summoner, the Summoner. I was running Wee Witch. That was what was replaced with IP Masquerena. And then just the one Summoner. I actually don't think I summoned this the whole weekend. I never felt the need to, but having the option there was kind of important. We have one Nightmare Phoenix, one of the most important cards on my extra deck over the weekend. The amount of games that I should have lost, and then this just came in clutch. Nightmare Unicorn, again, same sort of thing. It just comes up like that odd game where you don't deserve to win and you just, you know, gets you out of a sticky situation. We have one Blackluster Soldier. I think we can widely agree anyone who has access to this card needs to play it. One of the most important cards in the extra deck. And we have one copy of Sky Prison. This was insane against Yorkers matchups. It came up like a couple of times in the end. And every time it did, it just stopped them being able to play for 2 turns. And that's also what Gizmek helps you get into. And that's it for the extra deck. And then we're just going to touch now on the side deck. I feel that there's definitely some changes could have been made. This just felt right at the time. So we had 2 Super Poly targets. Super Poly came up quite a bit actually because people would poly me and I'd just poly them back. It can poly away the Orcus board. And in the mirror, it's like super clutch. We have triple copies of Lancia. I think Lancia was really important. Again, it got sided in loads. It came up like there was one game against an Orcus guy where, like, for like 5 turns, he was just under Lancia or under Shifter, and it was just proper grind him down. I didn't have much else to go with, but it stopped me from dying for a while, so I could try and see some plays through. I don't think I won that game in the end, though, unfortunately. We have triple copies of Super Poly. If you're going to play it, I think playing it at 3 is probably correct. It's a going first or second. Yeah, and they can't respond to it, so what else do I need to add to that? We have triple Twin Twisters. I think probably only one game that I sided these in that I can remember. Just really, really good generic back row removal. If you end up against like a heavy control deck, like something like Subterra, that kind of thing, you need cards like this to get you back in the game. We have triple copies of Infinite Impermanence. This was just in case we ended up against like that Luna matchup and that kind of thing. You need to be able to hit the Curious and things like that. It got sided in a few times. It was okay. Obviously, there's some clash with Phantazmay to consider, but when it was needed, it was there for me, so it was okay. And then finally, just one copy of Macrocosmos. Again, the logic was if I was going to play against Orcus decks, I wanted to be able to control how they could access their grave. I either wanted to be banishing all of their stuff or stopping them from banishing completely. And this just helps you get there. I think I only flipped it like 1 time and it was really cool. Didn't come up a lot. Maybe just a better consistency card next time. And that is it for the deck profile, guys. Hopefully that makes complete sense on how I wanted to play it. Again, apologies for this dickhead hound in my back garden that's making loads and loads of noise and interrupting the profile. Nice and classic dog behaviour. That's why I don't normally record at home. So, again, thank you very much for checking in, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this deck profile. Hopefully it makes sense. If you do have any questions, please drop them in the bottom. Not an issue at all. Please keep an eye out for the vlog when it goes up. It may have gone up before this. Who knows? I haven't worked it out yet. But yeah, definitely check it out. And hopefully this makes sense to you. And yeah, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm afraid that's all we have time for in this video. If by chance you haven't had enough of listening to me waffle at you through a video about a children's card game, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links are on the screen, or if you're feeling really lazy, you can click the links in the description. While you're at it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content too. It'll make me smile, I promise. And who can ask for more than that? Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.